This is our Rapid Ramblings. I'm Romelio.
I'm Roth.
And we are going to be answering one question from our social media Q&A we did. The question we chose to answer for this short video is, tell us about some comics that made you cry real tears. Bit of a difficult one. Neither one of us really cried at a comic. I teared up.
The medium of comics, and for me, reading books in general, I've never gotten, like, I'll get emotionally invested in books or even comics where especially if there's someone who's a big bad guy and I get pissed at what they're doing, or bureaucratic kind of bad guys. Like, I remember reading Order of the Phoenix. Umbridge pissed me off so bad. The medium, when I'm reading it, it comes across more dry. And comics is similar in the same way, except for a lot of times they're even shorter. Even if you're reading a graphic novel, it's generally shorter than reading a full novel. And it's just when you're experiencing still images of people is different than moving ones. So like when you're seeing someone go through all the emotions on a movie or a show, I feel it more. I empathize more with that. And so that'll get me to where I actually will tear up or have some tears. Okay. That being said, there have been several instances where things have moved me. So start with you.
I'll start with one that you mentioned to me because you knew it moved me. The death of Mimic, spoilers, and Exiles. Again, my favorite character.
Oh yeah, that's actually good because you said you were going to explain what happened to him and you never did last week.
So when he mentioned, we were talking about powers in last week's Rapid Ramblings, and mentioned he took Deadpool's. When he took Deadpool's ability, rewind a bit, Mimic and Blink were in a relationship.
For a while.
Like, it was like...
And then she disappeared, went home for a while, and he was torn from that, and then she rejoined the team, and they got back together, and were happy. They had the reunion.
And then he got injured, and Wolverine's healing factor wasn't strong enough to heal him. So he took Deadpool's healing factor, which, while it worked, when he transformed back from his organic steel form, he looked like Wade. He was all tumor-filled and ugly. So it put a strain on him and Blink's relationship. And then there was, during the whole House of M event, the Exiles rejoined the 616 continuity, and Proteus took Mimic over. And when Proteus took somebody over, he burned their body out. And it was so severe that it even burnt out Deadpool's healing factor and ended up killing him. It was really kind of like a lackluster death for him because of the way he was built up. He was, as we said, he was his universe's hero. You know, everybody loved him. He's this powerhouse, and he literally he didn't die like on panel. They found his body, his burnt out husk, and I remember just like it's kind of emotional. The more I think about, like, Blink just holding his husk and a single tear rolling down her cheek, and like he said, you see those things, and while it's emotional imagery, there's not much you can do because it's just a still image. And so, like, while I was upset and it moved me, but I wouldn't say I cried.
The one I read recently that I'd never gotten around to before was The Death of Captain Marvel.
I've actually never read that.
Yeah, I hadn't, because I've never gotten around. I need to try and hunt down a copy of it, because that's another thing I need to get with Thanos in it. But it was, I think it was always done as a graphic novel. I can't remember for sure. I could be wrong. I don't remember. But I downloaded it on the Kindle, and so I was reading it that way. And it's very similar to the Death of Mimic in the sense that Captain Marvel was built up in the same big Captain America superhero.
Grandiose.
And he died by cancer. And it wasn't quick. It showed him going through months of slowly them trying to find a cure and him wearing down. And then like he had a couple final like reunions, and then I think all the heroes were around his deathbed basically. And I can't remember if it was right when he died, or right before, I think it was right when he died. He basically, who ushered him into death was Thanos with death.
Oh wow.
So, and before Adam Warlock, when like Thanos first appeared in Iron Man, but when they really set him up, his arch nemesis for like all of the 70s was Captain Marvel. And then after that was when they built up the Thanos Adam Warlock pair. But that one was pretty good.
You know, so before we actually like started filming, we were talking about it. We only had one apiece. We were like, I can't really think of something. And I think the more we get into it, the more we think of, the more we can think of stuff. I have another one that really, the imagery was just beautiful to me. And that's when Jean Grey died. In the early 2000s. By Logan. That was beautiful to me. Like, it was heartbreaking. And it was deep. Because she was turning into Dark Phoenix. And, I mean, X3 kind of ripped that part, but they ruined it. But it was a beautiful, I think he kissed her, then gutted her. I know that sounds like horrible, but it was kind of his way of easing her into it. Wait a minute.
I feel like I'm trying to remember which one that is. I think that happened in the comics.
That did happen in the comics. Because what had happened...
But that wasn't her death that stuck.
Yeah, it was.
No, her death that stuck forever was the one when...
Aneurysm?
The whatever
Zorn?
Magneto did too, yeah.
That's when she started coming back as Dark Phoenix.
Oh, and then he did it then?
I'm pretty sure. I gotta reread that now. That's why I said, wait, hold up. Because then I remember like him giving her an aneurysm. And then I think she went Dark Phoenix because she vaporized him, didn't she? It's been years, but I remember the imagery. I remember Logan holding her body. So it might have just been that I'm remembering. And then I'm like fusing it with X3, trying to make that some good. It wasn't. But my number one emotional comic book was, and this was actually one of the very first times me and Roth actually hung out. It was early 2000s. And I gotta give it a time frame to it. It makes it seem like old as shit.
I mean, you're based on the book. You're gonna give away when it came out.
Yeah, obviously. But it's the very first comic book of his I've ever read, and I remember hearing about it, but I never was able to read it.
It was the black cover issue of Spider-Man number 36.
The 9/11 issue, and I didn't cry, but I definitely got teary-eyed. The number one image in my head is the villains helping clean up the wreckage, and it like zooms in on Dr. Doom's mask and he's crying. That whole book was just basically saying if we could have stopped it, we would have. And it's, oh my God, it's beautiful. That's probably my number one most emotional book. Definitely, by far.
John Romita Jr.
Oh man, he killed it. He killed it.
My most emotional book, and he'll get it why when I explain what happens in it, but Sandman number 13. I'm going to give spoilers for a book that's almost 30 years old, if not 30 years old. But, so, quick story. The Sandman follows the entity, basically, of Dream. Bigger than gods, immortal, all-powerful. He's in charge of the dream world for mortals. Well, in this book, it starts off in like the 1200s or the 1300s, where him and his sister, who's deaf, are in a bar having a couple drinks, and they're just listening to the mortals talk. And there's this one mortal who's being all boisterous to his friends, saying, death is a poor man's game. I don't want to deal with death. I want to live forever, because I don't think, like, I have so much to live for. I don't want to deal with it. And so Dream and his sister look at each other and they go, should we? And they're like, do you want to tell him or I do? And Dream's like, I tell him. And so Dream walks over to him, and I'm like, I like this plan of yours. If you agree, like, I want you to meet me back in this bar in 100 years. And his friends are laughing at him. Oh, that's so funny. He's calling you on your joke, man. 100 years later, Dream shows up there, the guy's there, and the guy's just like, are you a witch or a demon or whatever? And they have a short little conversation where it's basically he lets him in. As long as you don't want to die, you'll live. And then they basically have, we'll meet here in 100 years. And so it goes through the 100 years. And the first several hundred, whenever they meet, Hobgadling had been living it well. He's been around for a long time. He's learned a lot of things. He's made a lot of money. And then there's the 1 year where he's like, he got called out. They thought he was a witch because he had been getting too comfortable with his fake identities, and he had lost everything. And when he's down in the dirt and all that, and Dream is just like, well, are you done? Is now the time for you to tap out? And he's just like, no, I got so much to live for. And so he goes through the up and downs, and then it gets to the 1800s where they meet up again. They're having the conversation, and then Hob goes, look, you come meet me every year asking me the same question, am I ready to die? My answer's not gonna change. So this meeting is pointless. He's like, so I'll come back here in 100 years, but if we meet in 100 years, it's because we're meeting as we're friends. We're not meeting with this. And Dream, because he was kind of pompous and all this, and he was like, oh, mortal, I'm not your friend. You can't say that to me, and I'm not gonna, and oh, I'm done with you, and this is stupid. And he like brushes him off. And if you know how this series went, it basically, the issue before, Dream left in the middle of the story arc to go nobody knows where, and you find out at the end of this issue where they're at, it's a coffee shop now, it's no longer a bar, but he walks in and Hobbs sitting there waiting for him, and Hobbs just like, I didn't know if you were gonna show up or not. And Dream's like, well, it's bad manners to keep a friend waiting. That's my favorite comic.
I want to read that. I need to read that. That's fun.
Sandman's a good series too. Like, I like the whole run, but that issue, as much as I'm into the superhero books, I like a lot of superhero stuff. That is my favorite book in comics.
The 9/11 was my favorite book, overall in general too. And I think it's because it like yours, it resonates with you. And at the time when the 9/11 book came out, and when I think I read it in 2003, we were all still very high on patriotism, and still in that united we stand hoopla. And so at the time, like the book, even now, like it just resonates with me. But so that is our rapid ramble for the day.
That wasn't very rapid.
I think it was. What are we at?
16.
See?
Oh, hey.
So and
We're never going to make it under 10.
But yeah, so
I was wrong last week.
I was right. 10 to 15. Like, subscribe, comment suggestions, questions you may have.
We will do more question videos in the future, not next couple weeks, but we will make it a semi-regular thing to come back to. So if you ask questions, the questions we have gotten, we'll be answering more. The rest of them, which will be on Friday's videos, so stay tuned for that, and we will get through the rest of those questions.
Absolutely, and again, even if your question doesn't get answered this coming Friday, still ask it. And when we do this again, we will go all the way back and pick up questions we didn't answer if we missed some or anything like that. Pretty sure we got them all.
I'm pretty sure I got them all for this that we've been asked by the time we're filming.
If you go back and watch some of our old videos and have questions, ask them on those videos, and again, we'll go back and check them. I'm going to be getting a Twitter started this week, and I will just put the hashtag RRwRR.
Oh, and from our discussion with some of our friends, so what we're going to make fan casting a once a month video right now. Our next one will be the MCU version of X-Men. We're still gonna 3 weeks out or whatever, but we're gonna do a little bit different with that one. We're gonna do the same format as the last two, where we're gonna have our man behind the chair, Buddha, vote on our choices. But after we do that, we're going to put a poll up on Twitter and a poll up on Facebook, because we're with each character we pick and the choices we had, so that we get an audience poll on who they think they like the most out of our choices. And so then the week after that,
our Rapid Ramble
will be that.
So yeah, please again, like, subscribe, share, smash that like button. Don't smash the like button. You just gotta hit it once. Like, I don't know what smashing does to it.
Makes the dog angry.
Just hit it once.
That's what the kids say.
But I'm Romelio.
I'm Roth.
And we'll see you later this week.
But I got invested, but I was reading, but I never, like, when Sirius bought it or
Spoilers.
different things.
Threw him completely off.